Welcome everyone. I think it's time to start. It's a bit confusing with the timing as I am in India and really speaking from distance. So, welcome again, everyone. My name is Preeti Shah, and I'm founder and the CEO of the organization Pathways to Leadership with Racialized Immigrant and Refugee Women's Society. I will start with my story in very brief that I came as a settler in 86. And since then, a settler, a racialized immigrant. And since then, my journey has started. I am a DEI and an anti-racism consultant, and majority of my work for the last 25 years has been in intersectionality, anti-racism, and gender equity work. I personally learned through my struggles as a racialized settler informed me about the various ups and downs and struggles that all immigrant and refugee women face. And in terms of learning, that's where my majority of foundation was formed, where I realized that even though you may speak the language, you may have education, and you may have education that have multiple areas of graduation, you still are considered different or less than. And that's where basically my learning to initiate the curriculum for this program, the seeds were sown then, I should say. So before I introduce my panel and say more, I'd like to acknowledge that in my daily life, I live and work in Coquitlam territories, the unceded and shared territories of Tsleil-Waututh, Katsi, Musqueam, Squamish, and Stolo Nation. And with deep gratitude and commitment, I live on these lands and commit to do what I can through an individual, through family, and through the organization to be a true ally to the truth and reconciliation journey, and deeply are grateful for that. I'm going to very quickly introduce our fantastic speaker series. So I'm Preeti, like I said. The other person who will be speaking today is Aisato Sonko. She's a Pathway to Leadership graduate and is going to share her experience as a single mom. The other person is Sukli. She is an early childhood educator as well as a Pathway to Leadership graduate and is going to share the importance of childcare in integration. Aisato is also a growth enthusiastic. I love that title about her because she truly demonstrates that. And Sukli is a very good advocate for ECE, and you will hear her passion through her talk. And then last and the most important is Amia Wilbur, who's going to share the impacts and outcomes of multivariate groups. And she's the assistant professor and I think now the head of department at the University of Fraser Valley in the adult education area. So moving forward, we're going to start with a short video and then I'll come back to the agenda. Thank you.
In very short time, realized that I was really not seen, even though I had education, experience, spoke the language. I ended up doing many low-paid work, like many immigrant families and people, specifically women. I saw the need that how the racialized immigrant and refugee women were struggling in this low-paid job where they were not seen, heard, and were completely invisible. And I'd go here wanting to really understand why were we so invisible. Immigration and your education gave you points to come here, but when you landed here, you couldn't work as in your profession. And there was this total silence about racism. Nobody really talked about it, but it was very much in practice. So thinking through all these pieces motivated me to put it in a framework or in a program which would support women to become citizens in a true manner. So they are not just living on the margins where they just connect with their ethno-specific groups and the rest of Canada seems just too far or too out of their comfort zone.
Pathway to the Leadership was the sensational project. Right away from the beginning, it gave women and myself a sense of connection to your own self and to just, see other women who are just like you.
When you come to Canada from a country, for example, like Afghanistan or Syria, the first thing that will hit you is a culture shock. So you will feel lonely, you will feel disappointed, stressed. What's gonna happen next? Because I achieved a lot of things back home, and then when I arrived here, I didn't know that will I be able to start working again or not. But when I joined Pathways, the experience was really good. They helped me a lot, especially Pretty facilitator herself. She helped me a lot to get out of my comfort zone and start making new friends, get into community, building my self-confidence, and everything. So through Pathways, I found my pathways again, like where should I start now in Canada?
Sorry, thank you, and hope you enjoyed that short clip from a kind of a long film we have on pathways. So this is our agenda today. We're going to talk a lot about Pathways to Leadership and its principle. It's a curriculum-based program which is scalable as well as very easily accessible. And the difference between Pathways and other programs, the element approach, the components and experiences, and at the end, the impact and outcomes. We would really like to hear from you. So the Q&A is really important. The last 15 minutes, you will be able to share your Q&A through the Q&A box that you see at the end or at the row below the screen on your laptop or wherever you're logging in from. That's where you can ask your questions, and we'll make sure that one of us respond to what you are interested in knowing more. Okay, so moving along, trying to keep time, kind of the time factor really in my mind. Pathways is really a program that was developed from the struggles, informed and developed from the struggles of my personal journey, but journey of many racialized women. It is a curriculum-based program, and it was developed to meet the needs which were very evident in the community, which is many participants had limited language access, had complicated employment pathways, had family poverty, gendered expectations, racism, sexism, a reduced sense of confidence because moving to the new country did not mean that you were fully seen and accepted. So you had to really struggle to feel a sense of belonging and develop your identity. And then your education and training was also not accepted, and you had to really struggle to find ways to recognize that. So that's the reason Pathways curriculum took birth. I felt that lots and majority of the women stayed on the margins, and to be truly Canadian, different components of Pathways was utilized. And you will see them in the curriculum and as I speak more and when you hear from the speakers. So far, we've done 20 programs of pathways, and every time when women come out of the program, initially when they're starting the program, they say, we don't feel Canadian at all. But after the program, they always feel like a stronger sense of belonging and being more Canadian in terms of their identity. When are seen and accepted fully, I think their motivation to learn and grow is really tripled. If I can go to the previous slide, please. So Pathways is quite different from the traditional integration programs because it actually engages women emotionally and intellectually at every level of the program. It helps women by actually offering program that is owned by them. So the program is really critically um, shared, like the women take ownership of the program, and they also share what their needs are and what they want to learn. So that's the first thing that is shared in the program is tell me what you want to learn, what you want to do. So the agenda is there, but yet the women's needs and learning are priority. That's where the story starts. That's where the learning starts. In traditional integration programs, the focus is usually on employment. And over the years, we have found that women take programs and then are ended up in precarious, low-paid survival employment, where it's precarious, it's low-paid, and it also supports de-skilling, which means that the skills you brought to the country are usually lost. Because the majority of the programs do not do the analysis or teach or address systemic racism and do not provide tools to the women to negotiate and challenge systemic barriers. So pathways, and which means that the program actually reinforces and perpetuates the existing structures of racial and gender inequality, which we see in the Canadian labor market. So pathways really challenges that notion and supports women to understand racism, understand sexism, understand systemic barriers, and then learn how to navigate and negotiate that in their daily life, and also find the voice to challenge them as they move more and more ahead in their confidence and their growth. It's a criteria-free program, which is also quite unusual. There is no criteria. We take all immigration status, and we also take all English levels. So there is no requirement that one should be able to speak English. You could have a class where someone is at a beginner's level or even has no English language skills, which is a EAL, which is English as an additional language, or they can be at an advanced level and still be part of the program. The beauty here is that they teach each other and they learn from each other and they become truly allies and supportive of each other. So Pathways is very free from any criteria. All racialized women are welcome, inclusive of all genders. And eventually we see many of the women becoming really powerful advocates of themselves and their family. We can go to the next slide. The key essence of Pathways, I think, falls on two things. One is the curriculum, which is written and available in the room for the facilitator to address the needs of the women. But I think the beauty is when I initially said that the ownership of the program is shared. So women really, the participants take ownership of the class and really share what their needs are and what they would like to learn, and the facilitator adapts that. So that's the reason the facilitation is completely based in a very relationship focused approach. And this approach is inclusive of equity and anti-racism, anti-oppression lenses, which means that the facilitator uses intersectional lenses. And even when you invite speakers in the program, we make sure that they come from racialized backgrounds. So the role modeling, the facilitation, the curriculum, the learnings are all based in equity and intersectional framework. If we can go to the next. I know I'm kind of going fast, but I'm trying to stay with the time. The other beauty of the program is that it's a person-centered approach. So every participant in the class gets personalized learning, gets personalized recognition, and a big chunk of the work is really recognizing and valuing the hidden skills, talents, and education that the women bring in the class. There's a lot of life education they bring, but also academic education. Both are looked at. Pathways has been ahead of its time, I think. It was developed in 2012, the curriculum, but the work has been done since early 2000. And Indigenous history is a big part of the program. We definitely learn together about colonization and truth and reconciliation. And almost all the programs I've heard from the women that they would like to be allies and they want to know more about Indigenous history and offer their contribution to make changes. Some of the key components or elements are civic engagement, personalized career plan, continuous reminder to women to step out of their comfort zones, learning where their discomfort starts, because that's when actual learning takes place. Civic engagement is based on what they're passionate about, and that's where they find out what they would like to do as a civic engagement project. If you see the image on the side of the slide, that image is one of the images from the women who described her life experiences and her education and talents through a tree symbol. And that's just a sample of some of the work we do. If I can go to the next. So again, going back to facilitation in this program is key because it's based in intersectional approach. The lenses are intersectional. Of course, the basic components are being non-judgmental, compassionate, and love is definitely a big part of it. I truly think that using the love language is a radical change from doing integration program from what I learned and what I had been through. But that is what really holds the program, is the true commitment to the women from the facilitator, but also the true commitment of the women to each other. The approach is built, the curriculum is built on popular education methods and adult education principles. And the whole lens is really social justice based. So we learn about social justice every day in the class. We talk about racism, poverty, family dynamics, family violence, gaps in the system, the systemic racism that exists, and how are these going to shift and change, and how do we build deeper allyship between each of us, because we all come from different races and different ethnic groups. So how can we build a language of deeper knowing, deeper understanding, and a deeper allyship between all of us? And you will see that if you attend one of our events, hopefully on the International Women's Day, that women really truly share a deep bond, friendship, and allyship, and learn a lot from each other's cultures and races. If I can go to the next. So in short, the program is framed in a way, the curriculum is designed, and the way the facilitation takes place, it creates a strong foundation of respect equity, and practices that liberate each one of us. And the program is not just built to talk about advocating for anti-racism work or creating more socially just practices, but it also has very practical tools where each woman ends up with a civic engagement project and a personalized employment plan where they pursue their long-term and short-term goals, which could include education, employment, and many other things. So I'm going to stop here because there's lots to say, but I would like the women to, the other speakers to really elaborate what I'm saying through their experiences. So thank you for listening. And I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Aisato Sonko, and she will be talking about her experience as a single mom. Thank you.
Thank you, Preeti. My name is, can everybody hear me? Okay, it's clear. So good afternoon, everyone. I would like to say a huge thank you for having me here with you today, and I'm truly honored. I'm going to be talking about my integration experience as a single parent. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to Preeti for, having this platform for us to share our journey and our experiences. I would also like to thank all board members of the PTAL Foundation. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am. My name is Aisato Sonko. I was born and raised in the smallest country of the mainland of Africa called the Gambia. I left and moved to the UK when I was 20 years old and lived mostly in the beautiful Edinburgh of Scotland. I'm a mother to 3 children who were all born in Scotland. We came to Canada in 2018 and still live with my brother who was already living here. One of the most crucial elements in settling as an immigrant single parent is having the opportunity in career, direction, development, and growth. An example in my case, I was 38 years old when I picked up my 3 children. At the time, back in 2018, they were 13, 9, and 3 years old with just my suitcases of clothes. And I had a university placement at the time, and I had to let go of that offer because I had to choose between saving my life and my kids' life, and having a career. I already had a skill, but coming to Canada, obviously, is a different story. And now in a new country, sorry, 1 minute. We had to actually leave Edinburgh for safety and come to Canada. We had absolutely nothing and very limited help. Luckily, I had a brother here who I lived with. He was already living here. I was able to find about some resources. And yes, I had a skill, but I couldn't work at the time. I couldn't study, even though I wanted to. And now here, the clock is ticking. The system is different. It takes time to settle. And when you do, years later, you are left with questions. One of them, which is, wow, I am in my 40s. What do I do now? Do I go back to school and start all over again? Gosh, the student loan, how do I deal with that at this age? I have children and they only have me for all the classic basic needs of support. I have to work hard and provide. I need to stay sane and resilient, which I am, by the way, and processing all these thoughts whilst healing at the same time. Another part is the judgment we receive as immigrants and mothers in terms of achievements. You have to start over many times with limited support, twice as much citizens your age. And you have to, mainly like you could be 40, move to a new country, and you have a 20-year-old who has been living and supporting themselves with some help for just 20 years. And you have to start at 40 when they started at 5 or 20. So it's a different, state at, in a new place. This is just part of my experience, and there's a lot more. There are thousands of other women and children still figuring out life while settling and after a journey of its own. In terms of living here, I am still figuring it out and still settling. As we all know, the other classic challenge being here is the housing, affordability, especially in Vancouver. I think it's important to be safe, live in a safe and peaceful environment or neighborhood, especially when raising children. That is a challenge here with the high rentals, especially difficult as the safest and peaceful neighborhoods are either too expensive or just far away, which is not favorable for everyone, depending on the nature of your job. But as a mom and immigrant, here I've seen and been through a lot of challenges, and it is just another hurdle that I know I'm going to overcome one day, hopefully soon. I found out about PTL by just searching up online because I already knew about YWCA being from the UK. So I searched up and things that people can do as single parents, and it popped up on my Facebook page. So that's how I found out about the pathways, to leadership with the course that they were offering. Immediately, I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I got in touch with YWCA to find out more about it. It was the easiest decision that I had to make at the time. I had so free time. I wasn't working. I was staying at home. I had kids, and my youngest was still at home with me because he was not able to go to daycare, which I couldn't afford at the time because I had no job. So long story short, my status was not an issue for me to join the PTL program, and they were providing transportation, so I didn't have to worry about that. I didn't have to worry about what I'm going to eat on the day or what I'm going to give my son because I was able to go with him because childcare was also provided. And it was a very easy transition for me to make at the time to, go attend the course. So long story short, I attended the course in the spring of 2019 and just fell in love with everything the foundation stood for and how significant it is in what it was offering. I felt very lucky to have found it, and I believe the world needs more people like Preeti and this type of groups and foundations. It's just a place and safe place where you learn something about your new country or surrounding. It's giving people exactly what they need to excel within their own life and community. It helps to identify, develop, and distinguish between your naturally born skills and abilities, also understanding what you have learned along the way with your lived experiences and education. The key becomes knowing who you truly are and help in identifying exactly what you want to do, how to proceed by narrowing down, choosing what could potentially lead you to the right career path. I am extremely grateful for the opportunity in attending the course. Pathways to Leadership has helped restore my confidence in myself. I felt seen, found my purpose, and made me realize that I am indispensable and that I have an important duty and place to fill in contributing to my community. I just need time and the platform to shine, given the opportunity. I am truly honored and tremendously excited in being part of the board members. I have met a lot of incredible women, made friends, and learned a lot from every single one of them. Having said all that, I am very grateful for this remarkable journey of life and look forward to endless possibilities and abundance. I know they are coming soon and I can't wait to explore them. As for now, I am building capacity as a board member and learning new skills along the way, both outside and within the PTL, like being here today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for lending me your ears, and I appreciate your attention. And on that note, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Suk Lee, and she's going to talk about the importance of childcare in the integration process. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisato, for sharing your inspiring life story.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Suk Lee, and I'm originally from South Korea, and I immigrated to Canada around 2014, but I had no status for the beginning of some years. Here I am to share what I personally experienced as an immigrant woman, and also what I experienced in the PTL program as a participant, and also what I witnessed in my peers' life who were all single moms with small children, and also what I lived and observed as an early childhood educator as the career that I had after the program. And there were, yeah, so next slide, please. So a little bit of the introduction for myself. Like there's a picture of me and my daughter. It's a month before the program started. And it looks like I'm very positive, but actually I had nowhere to go, no childcare, and I didn't know how I will have to build my second career, because as a music and audio person, it was very hard for me to navigate. How am I going to earn money while my daughter really needs a care time? So I was kind of stuck, but then I learned about the PTL program, and it was really just like Aisato. It was the easiest thing for me to just register and go. And after the program, I went for the early childhood education program in Langara College and got the diploma at the end of the year of 2019. And currently, I am working as an infant and toddler educator in Simon Fraser University Childcare Society. So here, with my experience and observation, I would like to share my story and point of view with 3 questions. The first one is, what challenges do new immigrant mothers with small children face? The second one is how the Childcare in Pathways program impacted my integration. Third one, what is the role of the childcare in the integration sector in the long term? Yeah, definitely the third one is what I really want to talk about with you today. But I think it's important that we have some background knowledge about the whole program and my experience. So the first one, what challenges do new immigrant mothers with small children face? So no childcare. Oh my goodness, it is even the nightmare for the locals. No space and not enough money, and there is no family living close by who can be the backup plans. And the second challenge is, you're new to the Canadian culture and education system. So making friends is hard, and your confidence as a parent is kind of shrinking as the time goes by, because you don't know how to resource yourself, and your child is growing. So at the end, it is just hard for you to even think about, building a foundation of wealth, meaning second career, third career, or any career for the financial security for future. So it's hard to focus on that career building plan and, executing it. And it makes you more isolated, and you would feel emotionally really, lonely. And that's all of that I went through. And yeah, second big question, how Childcare in Pathways program impacted my integration. So I want to talk about while the program was happening, how it impacted first. So yeah, definitely it increased my motivation for participation. And you felt valued as a mom, and your child just loves going to the childcare place and meet all the friends and, play with all the toys. She's excited. I'm excited. I rated 100% of the attendance. Second one, yeah. And it automatically builds good relationship and friendship with the peers in the classroom, but at the same time, with the moms of the children who are my child's new friends. So then play dates were organically happening after the class. And the third one, this is the observation that I made as a childcare worker now. but it was for me the first time Canadian daycare simulated experience that, you come up with, water bottle, or milk bottle and the snacks and meal and all that. And you come with a story, how your child slept, at what kind of a mood your child is in, to share with the child caregiver in the childcare place. And it kind of builds your confidence and, skills in communications to partner with the child caregiver there. And then that is actually the starting of the relationship and also skills for you to be actually okay, good to go register your kid in another childcare or even for kindergarten. And immediate takeaway I would like to talk about after the graduation, that the childcare really impacted the successful completion to move on to the next step, which was for me to go to the diploma course. And I was able to find the right employment program for me to secure everything, childcare and everything. And the next one was I also took away the sense of belonging and confidence, because it's huge that you're emotionally in the right place. You have your community, and I felt like my child was so happy I was doing the right thing for her. Yeah, the last one, which is my kind of a conclusion question. What is the role of the childcare in the integration sector in the long term? Yeah, so I drew some diagram to express my ideas. So here's the blank space, integration into Canadian society. And I believe that the most successful self-development plan is the holistic approach. And we must view every individual as a whole person. And when we do that, for any mothers, any parents, their first and foremost important mission is to raise their children safe and right. So yet, to provide the care, parents all have to push themselves to achieve economic security. And when there's childcare organized by the integration training program, it does not only secure the time for the career building, but it also helps them expose to the Canadian childcare style for them to grow as a parent within it. And the child caregivers would partner with them to support the development of the children, that essentially help parents be at ease to focus on their goal of self-actualization and economic security. And we all need a sense of belonging in the community, right? So that's the next kind of a set of the goal of Pathways program as well. So we all need who I see myself as and who I could count on and be counted on by, to give love and to be loved. I believe in building a community through childcare, because through play dates and many parents learn about other families, it is absolutely easy to break the ice. And not only, with their preferences, information sharing, but the culture and the values will be shared during the play date. And this combination of the training and the childcare fosters deeper level of friendship between families. And this creates the immediate circle, and this also will allow each trainee to learn some level of social and thinking skills to reach out for more resources, being more confident to connect with a wider range of the locals in society. And that's what happened to me, and also that's what I witnessed in the women who I studied the Pathways program together. And yeah, that's all I have to say today. And thank you so much for listening. The next speaker is our star presenter, Imia Wilbur, about program impact and outcomes.
Thank you. Thank you, Sukli. So my name's Amia. I am, as Purdy said, I'm the Department Head of Adult Education at the University of the Fraser Valley and an associate professor. And I've been on the board of Pathways for 3 years, I believe, and knew about the program because I worked in the settlement sector and really appreciated the approach that was taken by Pathways, and that's how I got involved. And I'll be talking a little bit about program impacts and outcomes, and then we'll have some time for questions. I just have a question for you, and I'm hoping you'll be able to put it in the chat, so maybe we can ask. So you've heard Sukli, you've heard Isatu, you've heard Pretty, but we want to hear a little bit. What do you think are some of the outcomes of the program? If you could put that in the chat, that would be helpful. I'm sure you've been listening to what people have been saying, and we'll take a look at that. So if you could just take a minute and put that into the chat. Don't see anything coming up quite yet, but hoping that even if it's in the Q&A part.
Yeah, I think the Q&A would work, Amy. I think
Yeah, that's fine.
tech
So put it
person
in there.
said, yeah, Q&A would
So
work.
just
Yes,
take a
thank you.
what after hearing Sukli and Isatu talk, what do you see as some of the outcomes of this program? Just waiting. Test. Okay. There we go. Okay. Belonging. Okay. Sam, thank you. Yep. Anyone else? Community. Okay. Empowerment. Excellent. Any other, just from listening to our speakers so far? Development and self-awareness. Great. Okay. I'll just give you another minute to put. Okay. Okay. So thank you for sharing those, our 4 people. And what I'd like to do is to look at those outcomes and talk a little bit about some of the indicators. So if we could go to the next slide, that would be great. Okay. Someone mentioned and belonging, but we'll talk a little bit in 2014. There was an evaluation of two pilot programs of PTL in East Vancouver, and then Pretty mentioned that since then, she's worked on with agencies sponsoring over 20 programs delivered between 2014 and 2023, and collected feedback from participants throughout each of those programs. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those outcomes that have come out of that. We do recently have hired an evaluator to help with moving forward with the organization, and we'll have even more data for you in the next time we present, but I will talk a little bit about the pieces that came up through informal discussions and those evaluations in the past. So we look at some of the outcomes of the of PTL. Belonging to Canadian society. So women in the program report that they have more knowledge and awareness of the Canadian political and educational institutions, their rights as workers, understanding of the role of municipal, provincial, and federal governments and the NGO sector, for example. And they also have more confidence to engage with institutions and address systemic barriers. And Pretty mentioned that at the beginning of her talk, but this idea that, looking at opportunities for people to practice in the program, how they would negotiate systemic barriers using real life experiences that women have and in class, and then looking at problem solving together. And different strategies and approaches to address some of these barriers. And that is one of the pieces. And then people feeling a sense of belonging in terms of being more feeling like they're part of Canadian society. so that they're not separate. So feeling that sense of belonging here in Canada. Another area that we see some strong outcomes is around career development, and having not just short-term career goals, but long-term career goals. So learning the difference about a living wage versus survival employment, and the importance of having those things to look long-term and not just that short-term piece. And knowledge about different educational opportunities. Those are some examples of how the program goes about doing this. So accessing living wages and higher paid employment opportunities, and even going to college or university to further education. So those are some of the career goals that are explored in the program. And an example of that would be exploring international credential evaluation systems, learning about international credentials and how it can apply here in BC where we are. So those are some examples of how some of the outcomes around career development. Another one's around civic engagement and political literacy, which, having worked in the settlement sector for many years, is something I see is not maybe as well developed in other settlement programs as it is in this particular program. Women report that they learn critical thinking skills and negotiating skills in relation to systemic barriers. So learning about the political system here, I mentioned that, learning about colonialism, Canadian colonialism in relation to Indigenous communities, and then looking at the history and different waves of immigration here in Canada, and the impact that has on our Canadian society. And then Pretty mentioned this, but the idea of completing, like an outcome of this, is that they actually complete a civic engagement project on an issue that they're passionate about. Or maybe one that they want to learn more about. So, and there's support within the program on these civic engagement projects where people choose a topic to connect to their community, organization, finding ways to share their ideas, and making positive social change by leading a workshop, maybe making a video, creating public art pieces. There's all kinds of ways that women have done this throughout the history of the program. And then another area that you can see here is leadership. So everyday leadership. So one of the outcomes, and I think Suk and Isa too both talked about this and when they were talking about their experience in the program, but learning self-advocacy skills and group advocacy skills in relation to what they're experiencing in their families, in affordable housing, access to food, legal advice, all of these areas, leadership around those areas, and being able to ask difficult questions. I think that's one of the things that the facilitators really help people engage with, how to develop those thinking and learning skills to ask difficult questions and challenge those systemic barriers within the program, and then being able to use that outside of the program when they go and engage with different systems. And then taking more of a leadership role within their peers, within their families, friendship groups. Again, one of the ways that this happens within the program is providing opportunities for people to speak, to do public speaking, to engage in those civic engagement projects, and engage with their local communities. Another one is informational interviews, or with people in the sector who are passionate about seeking future employment and civic engagement opportunities. So those are sort of some of the more advanced leadership skills, but having more confidence to speak up. And then some of the more advanced leadership skills that are some of the outcomes of the program is taking more leadership in the community organizations, their children's school, at work, for example. And then maybe even conducting field visits to colleges, municipalities, NGOs, and then becoming more likely to become socially active change agents around issues they care about through those civic engagement projects. So I think those are really important pieces in terms of thinking about those leadership skills that are developed in the program. Now, in terms of community building, I think Sue spoke really well about this, is that community that's built within those spaces. So women feeling that they're part of a Pathways community, and that was really evident to me the first time I met all of the participants and attended an event, is how connected people feel, how connected the women feel to the program. And those long-term relationships with women from diverse backgrounds, and becoming allies to one another and supporting one another. So, I think watching the facilitator like pretty develop those really strong relational approach to her practice, and how that translates into relationships that are built between participants. So, and addressing childcare challenges, so people might end up supporting one another within those spaces if there's childcare challenges. So having that, and then supporting class members, and I pretty mentioned this at the beginning, that you've got people in the class that maybe have very limited English and then have a lot of English, and how those there's support between participants who have limited English and other skills, other challenges, that there is that opportunity for people to come together and support one another around those pieces. The next piece is around well-being. So, women talk about feeling less isolated as a result of this program, and we heard that already. So feeling less isolated and alone, being accepted, feeling valued and heard, and that heart work that we heard about, and that love that both, I think it was Suk and Pretty talked about. And having that, being more resilient and having improved mental health and wellness as a result of the program, and putting that at the forefront of the program in discussions to how do we encourage women to, have opportunities to really, think about their wellness and think about their mental health. So talking about self-care and talking about wellness within those spaces. And having lots of opportunities to connect inside and outside the classroom. So building those opportunities within the program is something else that many of the women had spoken about as being an outcome of the program and an impact of the program, being able to build strong communities. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about identity development, and I think we've already heard a little bit about this, but one of the things that talked about, I think it was Isatu who talked about, having a career and then coming here and not being able to engage because of barriers that were here. But one of the things with the program is that women are able to rediscover those strengths and those gifts and abilities. So, and one of the ways that I, when I was reading through all the documents again and thinking about some of the events that I've attended is looking at how women trace their histories through maternal histories and heritage. And that's something that happens within the sessions, and being able to look at that and bring those strengths to the learning space, and then using that outside of pathways. And it also provides an opportunity for people to learn about similarities and differences, and to build, again, that sense of belonging within that space, and providing an opportunity to look at that intersectionality and that analysis piece too. And you know, when you think about identity development, also learning that they're not alone. That many racialized women experience, you know, racial and gender discrimination. So, you know, being able to build those opportunities for people to come together and realize that they're not all by themselves. And I think Suk talked about that very well. You know, I think these are just some of the outcomes. I think as we go through the next layer of our evaluation of the program and looking at the different learnings that people have had throughout the program and what they take with them outside of the program, I think we'll discover more. But this is the beginning in terms of what are some of the outcomes and impacts of the program. I don't know if Priti or Suk or Isatu, you want to add anything to this, but I think, yeah, there's so many layers to it.
Thank you, Amia. That was great. I think the only thing I would add is that it also, one of the things that happens organically is the deeper relation building between races that are most unlikely to meet outside of the class. So sometimes people have so much of biases, implicit biases or stereotypes, and that really changes in the class because we have a lot of interactive work that we do, and the women really truly find out that at the end of the day, a lot of the values they share are similar, but they may exhibit them differently and have different ways of living and being, but the deep down values have so much similarity, and that's where the deeper allyship forms. And that's where the allyship comes in very supportive and handy where English is concerned, because women can speak any language in the class. They can speak in their own mother tongue if that is what gives them comfort. And when they do that, the people who speak English really support their learning. And we also use apps and translation apps and etc., the digital stuff that's new now, to support that learning. And the women who don't speak English as their first language become highly motivated through that peer support and appreciation to kind of learn and go out, and some of them even take 2 classes at the same time so that they can improve their language skills. So that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Yeah, I noticed a few other people have put some pieces as we went through some of the outcomes, like confidence building, better integration, seen and supportive. So I think there's, things that we may look at when we move forward. But yeah, thank you for that. I think it's time now to open it up for questions, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yes. So yes, again, like Amy has said, you can, oh, there is a question. We find this happens in our women's leadership program as well. That's great. Yeah, great. Thank you. So we are probably doing something similar in our programs to have those outcomes. But yeah, feel free to put your questions into Q&A. And if you're more interested to learn about us, this is our website and also the contact information email. And before we open up for question, I want to deeply thank each of our speakers and the audience for taking the time and being here. So let's see what questions we have. I don't think we have any yet.
Maybe while we're waiting for the questions, I'm wondering, Isatu and Sukli, when I put up the impacts and outcomes, was there anything that surprised you or anything that you wanted to add?
I'm
Um,
not surprised with anything, everything you said was on point.
mm. Yeah, and also I talked to Priti about it before, but Priti was really the mother that I have in India. She's the mother figure that any women can really see her as, like in Canada, because you want somebody who experienced all that you're going through and who has a very good insight and has some guidelines for you to kind of, find your own pathway so that you can be the leader of your own self. And I think her facilitation method should be like really, passed on. So many, more immigrants who need this kind of integration training can benefit from it. And her skills to really make everyone as allies and understanding that, what kind of empathy they can actually build for each other. It was magical, and I don't think I have the ability, but that was also the magic of the program. Yeah.
And I think I will want to add the fact that for me, with my experience on pathways, I think that's where the healing journey actually started for me. I looked forward to that event, that class every Friday. I made sure I wasn't late or absent for any single day. I had the time, but the fact that it was more like a family, very, very intimate, surrounding everybody. And I felt like I wasn't alone. And if not, I have a bad story or a sad story, or I'm still learning, but at the same time, I have many other women that I was sharing this journey with. And that's when I really realized, I always knew that I wanted to work with women, but then after, attending this program, I was like, yes, this is actually what I want to do. And I want to make a difference. I want to empower other women like Preeti does and just, contribute to the society.
I know I don't see any questions, but I have another question if that's okay, because I was just maybe this will come out afterwards, but I was just struck by because I'm an adult educator and that's what I study. So what are some of the ways that Pretty was able to bring that out? Maybe you can talk about that, Sukli, or Isatu, like what are those ways? Because I think it's helpful for the other participants here is maybe some of them are facilitating, settlement programs. So what are some examples or yeah.
I think for me with sorry, he can go first. So.
No. You start first. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I think Pretty kind of just let us channel through within ourselves to dig deeper and see where we are, how we got there, and where we can be going. She just paved the way for us to see more than what we saw and what we thought. So I think, and she just listened. She was just a good listener, not just imposing her beliefs and what she was learning, but at the same time, she was trying to get to know every individual, dig deeper into what your story is and try to help you and, team you up with the right team. And, she even bought me bus passes like for a whole month at some time. And that was after the program because I was being able to stay in touch with her throughout the way. So, because, and the bus pass I got was not even through Pathways, but through her other women, because I know she does a lot with another women group that she was teaming with and worked with. And, you just felt like you are another human being and you are actually valuable and important. So, yeah. Thank you, Preeti.
Yeah, definitely. That's the important point, Isato. Yeah. And by also, like perspective that I want to add is Pretty was very, very good at paraphrasing the women's story in a way that, you know, she's able to really pull the story, what is that, the bone of the story as everybody can relate to. And I think those stories are actually put out and shared based on what we actually go through as the first class, which is the matriarchal, journey, sharing the journey of your grandmother and your mom and you, and your matriarchal history, plus the history of how your name was named, who named it. And that just got us really into the zone that, oh, we are all valued and really, meaningful beings in this room. And just having to share that story just got us very much like just bonded to begin with. And when each woman just shares their opinions or story, Pretty was always able to connect all the dots all together for us to feel we are really, the same, and we can trust each other. That woman can take care of my child, no problem. Kind of a bonding just was building up over the time. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, all three of you, especially Suk and Isato, for really uplifting me here. And because I feel the same about you. So I think we're consistently learning from each other. But thank you for those beautiful, kind words.
Yeah, there's a
Thank you.
long note from Laura. I hope I'm saying her first name right. Laura.
Lara, I think it's Lara.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she says, as a recipient of some of the traditional integration programs, I really appreciate what Pathways to Leadership is doing. When I came to Canada, the integration program subjected me to getting skilled in lower paid jobs, which was way lower than what I was used to in my home country. And I wish I had knowledge of this before. This is such a great initiative. Thanks, Lara. And we all sincerely feel that integration programs should be truly integrating and uplifting women to be their highest potential with really good wages because it's so important. More than living wages, but at the minimum living wages. Yes.
Yeah, I think also I want to emphasize the fact that when I was going through the program, it was the only time that I was feeling like I am a mother again and I am a woman again, because I had gone through a lot of, traumatic incidents in my life that I kind of almost lost myself. But every Friday, I made sure I got dressed up. I put on my little makeup just to feel like, I'm human again. So I actually looked forward to it every single week. And I also when I had my son, my last son, who was 3 years old when we moved here, he never had a birthday. So 2019 was when he had his 4th birthday by one of the women, UN. I think obviously, UN. She organized a birthday for Hakim at her house, which was truly amazing because they all knew Hakim never had a birthday and they were like, made it happen for him. So, which was very touching. So yeah, it actually kind of impacted my life personally a lot. And like I said, I learned from every individual and then felt like, yeah, I can also do better, and I truly actually really inspires me to do, more work in the community and to go way beyond. And I think Pathways is going to go even further and above everything else in like advocating for the laws and everything else in between, because there's a lot that comes to, being an immigrant than just who you are as a person. We have to acknowledge that and we have to see it. We have to know it. We have to walk the walk to make it easier for everybody.
Thank you, Isato. That's beautifully said. Again, we are open to any comments or questions. Uh, if you'd like to share through chat or Q&A.
Pretty, can I ask another question?
Yes, please, please.
I'm sorry, my facilitation. So I'm wondering if you can speak, because it's something we mentioned in the outcomes and impacts, but we didn't get much of an opportunity. But you talk about connection with Indigenous communities and exploring that within the program. So maybe you can talk about a bit about how you go about doing that.
So when we open the program, we do land acknowledgement, and that's when the learning starts. Like, what is land acknowledgement? That's the first thing they learn in the class. They're all then have homework to find out what land they reside in and how they can bring back to the class. And then we go into the whole history of colonization, why till today racism exists, and specifically systemic racism against indigenous communities and people, and how this land is owned by them and it is their land and we are just settlers on this land. So that whole journey is explored by debates, discussions. I also provide some short history, but a lot of the research work the women do themselves. They go home and learn more through research about about the indigenous history. And so now, so that was built into the curriculum, but we've expanded the curriculum just last year. So now we will have a concrete partnership with action pieces to be done with Indigenous communities in the next programs. And so that would be truth and reconciliation. But we won't just be learning about what that is and learning about the Indigenous Day and the Red Dress Day and all that, but also supporting the relationship, the allyship piece between pathways and Indigenous communities, and how can we do hands-on work in supporting TRC within the community. So this interactive discussion, debates, research, a combo of all of that. And in our event, we also invited a storyteller from the Indigenous communities to talk about, actually, she talked a lot about her story, but also story of Vancouver and Stanley Park. But I let Suk and Isato share if they remember anything from those days.
I think I don't remember much detail, unfortunately. Yeah. And but I can share that Pretty posed the question there. Like, we were to recognize, even if we're like immigrant women, no job, and no status sometimes, but there are some pieces of the privileges that we still have. We're still higher, or recognized as a higher than others when we put ourselves out there. And what could that be? And that was very good way for me to understand. For example, I'm coming from a country, but it's not colonized anymore, still puts me in a better situation. So I was able to recognize and be grateful for where I was still, although I was struggling, and then more understand the struggles of the Indigenous community. And I got more ready to dive into that learning.
Great. Thank you, Suk. So there are two things. One is, I just remembered a civic engagement project where a woman from Peru did a project where she invited Indigenous Peruvian immigrants who have settled in Vancouver and did a beautiful a day and gathering of learning and information with the Indigenous elders and young people here. So, and then they had a beautiful celebration and kind of a relationship building between the two communities, which was, I still remember it was an absolutely unique and a beautiful place to be at in terms of witnessing their civic engagement project. We also have a beautiful comment from Akiko, one of the graduates of Pathways program. She just had a baby boy, and so he's not here today. But she writes here, I'm a proud graduate of the Pathways program. One of the key distinction of Pathways compared to other similar program is its vibrant community. PTL graduates can join this community to stay connected and receive ongoing support and development even after the 12-week program ends. This continuous connection is often missing in many integration programs for immigrants and refugees. Thank you, Akiko. That's beautifully said. And I forgot to mention that Pathways is just a 12-week program, and it's also not 12 weeks, it's 12 days. So it's 1 day a week program. So it's 12 days that women are together. So in 12 days, a lot happens. We learn a lot and we laugh a lot, we cry a lot, and we bond a lot. So a lot of stuff happens. I guess we have no other questions. Amia, you have
I
another
think
question?
no, it's time. It's time. Sorry. I wanted to, I always have questions. So,
Which is awesome because I'm not wearing a facilitator's hat today. I'm
No.
just being. So I'm
Yeah.
so glad you took that on. I'm so happy that you got people engaged. You and Suk had some good questions. But yeah, this is your last chance. Otherwise, we can wind down because I'm sure you have other sessions to attend. Suk and Isato, anything else you wanted to add?
I think what I also wanted to say is the fact that with Pathways, you are not only learning, you are equipped at the same time with the right tools on how to advocate for yourself and how to seek the knowledge that you need and how to access, information and other programs and other, like you get given everything that you need to proceed with your life. Whilst compared to other organizations that I have contacted moving here, it's been 6 years and I still haven't heard from some of them, if not most. So I think it's very unique in that way. I have not only lived here, coming from the UK, I've seen other organizations whereby you get breadcrumbed a little bit and given some information and not given the right tools that you actually need. It's like you always have to come back to be asking for more instead of giving you what you need so you can stand on your own 2 feet and do things for yourself and become more independent. So I think I got that from Pathways. That's why I'm very passionate, and grateful that I came across it. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So each one of us would like to thank the audience for giving us this time. And I've put our website on the chat if you can see it. And we will also thank you for not just spending your time with us, but also taking the time to visit our website and connect with us if you are interested in partnering in future, or you may have other questions once you've left the conference. So each one of us is very grateful for this platform and would like to thank you and the Indigenous communities again for letting us use this space and using our voice here. And we can put the last slide back, unless I think Suk wanted to say something. Suk, were you planning to say something?
No, I wanted to say thank you, bye.
Thank you.